You receive your salary. For a few seconds, there is a brief illusion of peace. The bank account seems alive. The number has gone up. The app seems less hostile. For a moment, you look at that deposit and think, maybe this month will be different. Then the modern American ritual begins: rent, car insurance, gas, groceries, phone, internet, credit card, car payment, electricity bill, health insurance, student loan. A forgotten subscription you swore you canceled. And suddenly, the month isn't even in its second week yet, but your salary already looks like a financial fossil. He didn't leave in a great tragedy. He didn't disappear because you bought a yacht or bet everything on a digital currency named after a dog. He died from perfectly normal minor charges. This is your salary, and he is a math problem. For decades, Americans have been told the formula is simple: work hard, be responsible, budget, accept pressure, maybe get a second job, and eventually life starts to make sense. But something changed. Today, people are working, earning money, cutting expenses, buying cheaper brands, driving less, cooking at home, canceling plans, postponing doctor's appointments, using less energy, paying for basic necessities in installments, and yet they are still falling behind. So perhaps the question isn't, why don't people know how to handle money? Perhaps the question is, why can't money handle life anymore? If you want economics explained without Wall Street bedtime stories, subscribe to the channel. Here we translate pretty charts into real life: rent, interest rates, the market, debt, and receipts. You've probably heard that the economy is doing well. The stock market is rising. GDP remains positive. Unemployment appears to be under control. Consumers continue to spend. And, technically, some of this may be true. But there is the economy seen from above, and there is the economy experienced from below. The economy, viewed from above, resides in graphs, reports, speeches, and pretty phrases about resilience. The economy lived at the bottom resides in the supermarket cart. It resides in the rent that went up again. It resides in the car insurance that became absurdly expensive even though you didn't hit anything. It resides in the credit card bill that seems to have learned to multiply on its own. From above, it looks stable. From below, it looks like a particular recession, and that's the point. Modern recessions don't always arrive as a stock market crash. Sometimes, it arrives as a receipt. It happens when you buy less food but spend more money. It arrives when the salary hits the account and is already compromised from the start. It arrives when a $500 emergency turns into a family crisis. It happens when you're employed but don't feel secure. It happens when you work longer hours but have less of a life. It arrives when the world keeps functioning, but it's functioning at a cost that's too high for you. For a long time, recession was treated as something technical. 2 negative quarters, decline in activity, indicators, committees, definitions. But the average person doesn't live within a defined framework, she lives within a budget. And when the budget fails every month, it hardly matters whether someone in Washington, on Wall Street, or in a television studio decided to call it a recession or not. You don't need the government to announce a recession when your bank account has already announced it first. And the cruelest part is that, for many people, their salaries didn't even decrease. Perhaps you'll even earn more dollars than you did a few years ago. Perhaps, on paper, you'll seem to be doing better. But money isn't just about the number that appears on the screen. Money matters for what it buys after the world has gotten its hands on it. After the rent, after the food, after the gas, after the insurance, after the health care, after the debt, after the interest. This is the real salary, explained without embellishment. It's not just about how much you earn. It's about how much of life that salary can still buy. And that's the problem. Your salary didn't necessarily get lower. The world around him became heavier. Previously, a raise felt like a victory. Now, it often just seems like a survival update. You receive a little more, but the rent goes up even more. You get a raise, but the car insurance bill skyrockets. You cut back on delivery services, but the gas makes up for it. You switch brands at the supermarket, but the purchase remains expensive. You cancel a subscription, but the credit card company charges interest. You do everything they said a responsible person should do. And even then, the numbers don't add up. That's where the guilt begins. Maybe I'm spending it wrong. Maybe I should work more. Maybe I'm not disciplined enough. Maybe everyone else is succeeding, except me. This thought is powerful because it feels personal, it feels intimate. It feels like the problem lies in your banking app, your spreadsheet, your habits, your choices. But when millions of people feel the same way at the same time, perhaps it's not just an individual failing. Perhaps it's a sign, and this sign is saying that ordinary life has been repriced. No to a life of luxury. No to mansions. No to private jets. No to vacations on private islands. No to watches that cost more than a house. Ordinary life, to have a place to live, to eat, to drive, to have insurance, to get sick, to raise children, to pay for internet, to have a phone, to pay off debt, to save some money, to sleep without feeling like an emergency could destroy the next 6 months. This has become too expensive. And when basic necessities become too expensive, people don't feel like they're living through a macroeconomic crisis. She feels she is failing as an adult. This may be the most effective psychological trick in modern economics. She turns a structural problem into personal shame. The system increases the cost of living, then asks why you didn't make a better budget. Now, to understand why this hurts so much, we need to distinguish between two types of inflation. The first is inflation, which everyone sees. More expensive eggs, gasoline is more expensive. More expensive rent, more expensive energy. Most expensive supermarket. This type of inflation appears in your shopping cart, at the pump, in your rental contract, and when you pick up the same old product and think, wait, didn't this cost much less? That's obvious inflation. It's annoying because it's so obvious. But there is a second inflation, quieter, more treacherous, easier to normalize. It's the car insurance that goes up even without an accident. It's the small bank fee that nobody reads. That's the delivery fee. It's the service fee. It's the price of streaming that started out cheap and now feels like an emotional rental. It's the app that charges the most for delivering the worst. It's the suggested tip on a screen that seems to judge your soul. It's the smaller package for the same price. It's the health plan with the highest deductible. It's like a credit card charging interest like a cartoon villain with a bank license. This inflation doesn't arrive shouting. She arrives dripping with sweat. $5 here, doses bought, $29 per month, another fee, another adjustment, another automatic charge, another renovation, another small bite out of the salary, and since each bite seems small, the brain tries to adapt. This is where behavioral economics comes in. People don't compare prices against a perfect spreadsheet of the last 5 years. People compare them to last month. They compare them to their last purchase. They compare them to what they've already accepted as normal. Then absurdity takes root. The price that once shocked people is now benchmark. The new benchmark becomes the norm, and normality becomes prison. A product doubles in price, you complain. Then it drops a little, and suddenly it seems like a discount. But it's still much more expensive than it was before. That's the psychological magic of high prices. He strikes first, then he settles down. And before you know it, your brain has already updated the pain map. You don't think it's cheap. You just think it's less offensive than yesterday. This is how the world gets expensive without seeming like an explosion. It becomes expensive due to the adaptation process, out of exhaustion, by repetition. It's through small defeats that you learn to call adult life. And when wages don't keep pace with this new reality, people don't immediately stop living. They improvise, they use credit cards, they make the minimum payment. They offer installment plans for basic purchases. They fall into the buy now, pay later trap. They refinance the car. They're messing with the savings. They postpone medical appointments. They accept odd jobs, vend them free time. They cut short their rest. They turn emergencies into debt. From the outside, the economy still seems alive. Consumption continues. People are still buying food. They are still supplying fuel. They are still paying rent. They still subscribe to services. They still accept card payments. They still keep the machine running. But inside, many families are bleeding in silence. Because that's how a broken economy buys itself a few more months of appearing normal through debt. Debt numbs the body. It allows a person to continue today with tomorrow's money. But tomorrow will come, and when it arrives, it already comes with interest. So next month's salary doesn't start from zero. It starts with a debt. Part of it already belongs to the bank. Part of it already belongs to the card. Part of it already belongs to the financing. Part of it already belongs to the rental agreement. Some of it already belongs to companies that have discovered that the best way to make money is to turn every aspect of life into recurring income. And perhaps this is one of the greatest changes of our time. In the past, people bought things. Now, more often than not, they are renting out access to their own lives. Rent every month, car payment every month, car insurance every month, phone every month, internet every month, streaming every month, gym every month, software every month, energy every month, health insurance every month, daycare every month, student loan every month, delivery, fee, subscription, automatic renewal, recurring billing. Life has become a package of monthly payments. And the most unsettling detail is that many of these things don't seem like luxuries. They just seem like the basic cost of participating in society. You need internet to work. You need a phone to exist professionally. You need a car in much of the United States because many cities were built as if public transportation were a European myth. You need insurance because a collision, illness, or emergency can destroy years of hard work. You need housing, food, energy, credit, transportation, and connectivity. And each of these needs found a way to charge a monthly fee for remaining in the game. This is the new model. You can't buy stability. You are signing up for temporary access to it. And when everything becomes a subscription, the salary ceases to be a tool for building something and becomes merely a monthly password to avoid being evicted from one's own life. The problem is that when prices go up, they rarely go back down to where they were. This is one of the most frustrating aspects of inflation. It is sold as a temporary item, but the new label often becomes permanent. When companies' costs rise, prices rise rapidly. When costs fall, prices often take a breath, look around, pretend they didn't hear anything, and continue where they are. Because if the consumer complained but continued paying, the company learned something very valuable. He learned the limit of pain. And companies respond to incentives. There doesn't need to be a secret room with villains spinning leather chairs and plotting how to destroy your monthly purchase. The incentive is simpler and colder. If a company can charge more without losing enough customers, it charges more. If they can reduce the packaging size while keeping the price the same, they will reduce it. If it can create a premium version of what used to be standard, it will create it. If she can make the service worse and call it efficiency, she try it. If it can turn a one-time purchase into a subscription, it will. If she can hide the cost within the fee, she hide it. This is not magic, it's a test. How much can the consumer tolerate? To what extent does the family absorb? How far does the card hold security? To what extent does a person complain, but still pay? That's why you might feel like everything has gotten a little worse, even when nothing seems to have collapsed all at once. The packaging has shrunk. The service has gotten worse. Delivery became more expensive. The basic plan has lost resources. The good plan has become premium. The monthly fee went up. The fee appeared. Tipping has become a form of social pressure. The purchase continued, but it was smaller. Life went on, but with less room for maneuver. And at this point in the video, I want to know if this is happening to you too. If your salary seems to disappear faster than milk in the fridge, leave a like and comment on which expense has become ridiculously expensive in your life. Rent, insurance, groceries, healthcare, car. I want to see where this pressure is hitting hardest, because this pressure doesn't affect everyone equally. This is another essential part of the story. In fact, the United States increasingly looks like two economies living in the same country. For those with assets, the last decade may have seemed like a staircase. Real estate is appreciating in value. Stocks are rising, retirement accounts are growing, net worth increasing, capital working in silence. But for those who live primarily on a salary, the same economy may have seemed like a wall. Most expensive house, toughest entry point. Higher interest rates, heavier rent, most expensive car. More expensive insurance, more expensive credit. Adulthood is further away. The same rise in property prices that makes a homeowner feel richer also makes a tenant feel more trapped. The same stock market that increases the wealth of those who already invest doesn't pay the bills of those who need to use their credit card to make ends meet each month. The same economy that seems strong to someone looking at their own portfolio may seem broken to someone looking at their own bank balance. This is the K format. Part of it goes up. Another part goes down. Some see opportunities. Another sees doors closing. One party profits from the appreciation of assets. Another pays rent for these appreciated assets. And this creates a deep psychological divide. Because some people look around and think, the economy is great. Others look at their own account and think, great for whom? This is the point that much economic analysis misses. There is not just one economy. There is an economy for those who own things. And then there's the economy of those who need to work to pay for access to things that others possess. When assets rise faster than wages, labor loses ground. When rent rises faster than income, finding a place to live becomes an impossible race. When interest rates rise, those who need credit pay more to continue living. When insurance premiums go up, those who depend on cars have no choice. When healthcare is expensive, getting sick becomes a financial risk. When education becomes a matter of debt, starting adult life already feels like being born in the red. And yet, the narrative continues to say, work hard. But working hard within a system where everything you need increases faster than everything you receive is like running on an inclined treadmill, while someone increases the speed and calls it an opportunity. That's why so many people feel they are giving more and receiving less life in return. More hours, more pressure, more anxiety, more bills, more tools, more messages outside of business hours, increased productivity, but less security, less rest, less future, less sense of progress. And when the reward disappears, the meaning of work changes. It no longer looks like a path. It's starting to look like damage control. You don't work to advance. Work so you don't fall. You don't work to build. It's a struggle to keep the month going. You don't work to achieve stability. He's working to buy 30 more days of normalcy. And this is where human behavior worsens the trap. Because most people don't react to a financial crisis at the first sign. People are waiting. We think, things will get better next month. Then, when inflation goes down, things will improve. Later, when I change jobs, things will get better. Later, when I pay off this credit card, things will get better. Then, when things go back to normal, it gets better. The things don't automatically return to normal just because you're tired. That's the normality bias. The human brain has difficulty accepting that a bad situation can become permanent, so it treats discomfort as a phase, as an exception, as a passing storm. But some storms just don't pass. They saw the weather. The person continues using the card because they believe it will pay off later. She postpones the appointment because she believes it's not that urgent. He accepts more work because he believes it's temporary. Hold on to the old car because you believe you can push it a little further. Don't look at the whole bill because looking at it hurts. And that's where another problem arises, present-day bias. When the month is tight, the future seems like a distant person who will have to deal with it later. Then you pay in installments, refinance, pay the minimum, push, goodbye, survive, not because he is irresponsible. But why? When the present is on fire, does financial planning become a psychological luxury? And there's also the social comparison. You look around and it seems like everyone is doing well. Everyone travels, everyone posts about restaurants. Everyone buys a car. Everyone renovates their house. Everyone smiles in photos that don't show bills, debt, anxiety, minimum payments, and maxed out credit cards. So you think, maybe the problem is just with me. But social media platforms are showcases, not audits. Nobody posts a screenshot of their banking app at 2 in the morning. Nobody posts stories saying, I just financed my self-esteem in 12 installments. And on top of all that, there's the monetary illusion. You're earning more dollars than before, so it seems like things are better off. But if those dollars buy less housing, less food, less healthcare, less rest, and less security, you haven't become any richer. You only received more paper to buy less life. That's the trick. Income increases in number. Life becomes practical. And when that happens, some people lose, but others win. Again, You don't need to imagine a secret room with people in suits pressing buttons to make your market more expensive. The reality is simpler and more uncomfortable. The incentives are designed to extract more from those with less profit margin. Those who own property benefit when rents go up. Banks benefit when more people load funds onto their credit cards. Credit issuers profit when debt becomes routine. Companies with pricing power profit when they discover that consumers complain but continue to pay. Insurance companies earn more when premiums increase. Subscription platforms profit when you forget to cancel. Technology companies profit when they turn a tool into a subscription service. The market benefits when basic needs become predictable payment flows. Your life becomes a recurring recipe. And when many essential things become recurring revenue, the worker ceases to be just a consumer. It becomes a monthly source of income, rent extracted, interest deducted. Extracted rates, signatures extracted. Insurance extracted, monthly payments extracted. And each company only looks out for its own little piece of the pie. But you pay for all the little pieces together. That's why the economy can seem strong while, at the same time, millions of people can feel broke. Because a technical recession depends on indicators. But a personal recession begins when income no longer covers basic living expenses. When savings disappear, when debt grows, when emergencies turn into catastrophes. When working harder doesn't create progress, it only prevents setbacks. When a salary doesn't build a future, it only buys another month. You don't need someone to declare a recession if your bank account has already made the official announcement. And the risk is that the next shock will find families without buffers. High interest rates for longer, delays are increasing. The job market is under more pressure. Heavy rents, insurance is going up, more expensive credit. Unstable energy, rates, external shocks, automation, artificial intelligence is putting pressure on jobs. Families with no savings, none of this needs to turn into a disaster tomorrow. But all these risks become more dangerous when people are already financially exhausted. Because a healthy economy can withstand setbacks. A family without a safety net can't even withstand a flat tire. And perhaps that's the most important truth in this video. You're not crazy. Mathematics has changed. The world hasn't just become more expensive. It was redesigned to favor those who own assets, capital, real estate, platforms, credit, and pricing power. And he distanced himself from those who depend solely on a salary. This is the mathematical problem of your payment. It's not just about the budget, it's not just discipline, it's not just about cutting out coffee, canceling streaming services, and pretending that spreadsheets can solve an impossible rent problem. It's the cost of being alive, learning to grow faster than the money you receive to live on. So, the next time someone says the economy is great, ask, great for whom? For whom do they have shares? For those who own property. Who does he charge interest to? Who receives the rent? Who do they sell subscriptions to? Or what about those who wake up early, work all day, get pay, and see it all disappear before the second week is over? Because work should buy stability. Today, for many people, it only buys them another 30 days of survival. This is your salary, and as a math problem. Not because you forgot how to make a budget, but because the cost of being alive has learned to accrue interest against you. If this video described your life a little too accurately, comment on which expense has most destroyed your budget: rent, groceries, insurance, health, credit card, car, or some absurd fee that appeared out of nowhere. And leave a like if you think working hard should buy more than just surviving until the next paycheck. And if you want to understand why the next crisis might already be lurking in plain sight, watch the video that's playing on the screen now.